Hey guys, how's it going? 5 on here, bringing you guys another Neverwinter video. Today we're going to be going over the Mod 10 Scourge Warlock build. This build, much more viable in Mod 10. Obviously, it brought a fix to the Hellbringer path, as well as a few changes to Fury. So let's go ahead and get into my gear here. Item level 2665. I don't really have much endgame gear for right now, except for the rings and I believe the artifact equipment. Still have Mauleran equipment, need to get rid of that. Definitely going to be going for the twisted set. Artifact set is going to be the black ice set, just personal preference. You can go with Lost Mouth, but the black ice has a similar set bonus in that you are getting a bonus hit for your damage on your powers, which is unresistible towards enemies. Rings, sudden precision, as well as brutality +4, precision giving you that 4000 crit strike, and brutality giving you that 4000 power. Very good. Definitely recommended for any DPS class, honestly. And then overall offense and defense slots for all my gear. Offense is rank 8 Azures, defense is mostly dark 7s, which will be dark 8s relatively soon. Azures are definitely recommended for the Scourge Warlock because you want to try and get your crit stat as high as you possibly can. So let's go ahead and get into the stats here in just a moment. Alright, now for the stats, our character sheet is going to consist of 27 Constitution, as well as 28 Charisma, 15 Intelligence. Intelligence, not so important. Constitution, you're getting the damage bonus and the hit points. Charisma, critical chance, obviously we want that crit. Gear ratings, 15k power, 11k crit strike. Definitely want that crit strike, guys. Can't stress that enough. As you can see, 54% critical chance. That's going to tie in very well with one of our personals later, as well as with the Fury Capstone. Other gear stats, lifesteal, didn't go too high in lifesteal. It's not too important to me, but you can build lifesteal if you would like to. Definitely very good to be able to heal yourself if you're running in first, or, you know, just in general, good to be able to heal yourself. Let me go ahead and accept that real quick. Alright, let's get back into it. Powers, At Will, Hand of Blight, range / melee attack, good for trash mobs. Fourth hit applies a damage debuff. Second At Will, Hellish Rebuke, damage over time. Gonna pop that on an enemy, and that's gonna tie in well with Flames of Empowerment, which I'll go over in just a second. Our first encounter, Pillar of Power, you're giving yourself a damage and damage resist buff, as well as any enemies that enter it, damage and damage resist debuff. So that's gonna be one of the main Hellbringer encounters, something you're definitely gonna want to pop as soon as you run into battle. Excuse me there. Second encounter power, Arms of Hadar, fixed in Mod 10, so it's actually usable now. Has a prone component to it, and a cooldown component as well. The cooldown increases the more you use it, obviously. Second encounter, Blades of Vanquished Armies, increases deflect chance now in Mod 10. Overall, very good for mob clearing. And then Flames of Empowerment. Here we go. Your At-Wills are going to stack a damage buff for you against your enemies. At rank 4, that's going to be a 5% damage buff. So hit 3 times. There you go. 15% damage buff for you. Second personal, All-Consuming Curse. Here's where the crit strike comes into play. At rank 3, it's giving you a 100% chance to trigger a Lesser Curse. Lesser Curses now work with Creeping Death in Mod 10. Tyrannical Curse, if you're familiar with the Mod 9 Scourge Warlock, very good daily, increases your damage, pops you up high on the damage leaderboard. Gates of Hell, very good daily in my opinion, has a knockdown component to it as well, and if you kill anything with it, it's going to restore a little bit of your AP. Overall hits pretty hard, and one of my favorite dailies so far. So let's go ahead and get into feats here now. Heroic feats, 3 out of 3 for hit points. Good to have hit points. Always good to have hit points. Next, our crit chance. Obviously going to be 3 out of 3. We want that crit stat as high as we can possibly get it. We want to be able to crit as much as we can. And then I put 3 out of 3 in Energizing Curse. Since curses aren't necessarily going to be removed in Mod 10 as much, you're going to be outwilling them more often. Counter powers deal 6% more damage. That's a gimme. We want to do more damage as a Scourge Warlock. Determined casting. I went 3 out of 5 in this. It's a 4% difference in cooldown rating. Not too important to me. You can go with Soul Reaping. I know this was changed from Mod 9. It would give you a certain stat per your Wisdom level. I'm not 100% sure. But again, lifesteal isn't too important to me, so I went back and put the other 2 points into Energizing. And then crit severity increase to 15%. That's a gimme. And then the last 2 points that I had, put those into the Constitution buff. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the Fury Path. Critical Promise. After a crit hit, you're doing 50% more weapon damage. Since we're going to be critting a lot, that's a lot of that 50% weapon damage. Offering to the Prisoner. When a cursed target is killed, your damage is increased. Again, that's a gimme. We want to increase our damage as much as we can. And if you're outright slaying some targets, you're always getting that. Hell Touch. When foes damage you, you gain a damage increase, 10%. Of course, another damage buff. At will and encounter powers deal up to 15% bonus damage as the target gets closer to dying. Definitely want that. When attacking cursed targets, you deal additional 15% of your weapon damage. Again, these are all gimmies. You guys definitely want that damage bonus. And then let's get into the next one. Brutal Curse. Your Warlock's Curse increases your damage against affected targets. We're going to be cursing almost everything, so we definitely want that damage bonus. You can skip over Murderous Flames. You can put points into it. If you use Killing Flames, go ahead. If not, it's not important. Capstone. Creeping Death. In Mod 10, your at-wills, encounter powers, and dailies are going to be able to trigger Creeping Death as long as your target is cursed. That's changed from Mod 9 where it was only necrotic damage. Creeping Death does a 60% additional damage over 8 seconds, and it also stacks. For the second path, this is just personally what I did. Parting Blasphemy, it's not entirely important to the build since we're not really going to be removing curses, but you do need that to be able to get to the next bonus, which is going to affect your Pillar of Power. The damage and damage resist buffs provided by Pillar are going to last for 5 seconds more after you leave the circle, and now your allies can also receive 50% of the buff's effect. Very good. It helps you be a little bit more, I guess, party-oriented if you want. You can always pop that for any melee class that's might be attacking a boss. You know, give them 50% of your buff and damage buff. So now we are going to go ahead and get into boons. I'm only going to cover the boons that I've mostly finished. So we're going to skip over Sharndar, go to Dreadring. 250 crit strike and 250 movement. Again, we want to increase that crit strike. Lifesteal, definitely want to do that over regen, I believe is the other choice. I went with resistance ignored over deflect chance. You can build deflect if you're running a Shadowclad enchantment. But personally I went with resistance ignored. Just helps your hits, you know, have a little bit more effect against targets. Next bonus, I went with the defensive version of this. You can go with the offensive, which I believe is 20,000 damage and decreases their healing by 25%. But it is nice to be able to regen a little bit of your hit points as a Scourge Warlock. You tend to be more squishy. And then the capstone for that, Rampaging Madness. Obviously, you gain a stack of madness per second when you deal damage. At 50 stacks, you're getting 4,000 power, lifesteal, and regen for 10 seconds. Who can pass that up? Especially as DPS. So you definitely want to get that. We'll go a little bit into Underdark, since this, I don't plan on going too much farther in it, as the last 2 boons aren't too important to me. We'll go backwards here. Combat advantage increased by 10%, 400 crit strike and maximum hit points, and then I believe this is 400 power and maximum hit points. So, all offensive there. My guild has the Power and Armor Pen, the Healing and Defense, as well as the XP Gold and Mount. I went with Power and Defense boons, just personal preference. Elemental Evil will go into here. 300 power and 2,000 hit points. Very good. 4% lifesteal severity, 2,000 hit points. We definitely want that. And 400 crit strike and 2,000 hit points. And I will show you guys the capstone boon that I'm going to be picking. When taking damage, you have a chance to heal 24,000 hit points, and then you gain 1,000 crit strike afterwards. So definitely very good. You definitely want that. That's going to heal you as well as give you an offensive buff too. So that ties in with the Dread Ring healing boon as well. Alright, so I don't necessarily have my companions set up properly to benefit my class the right way, so we're going to skip the companions tab for now. I may go back and go over that at a later date, but now we're going to get into the mount insignia bonuses. For my first one, I have Artificer's Influence. Whenever you use an artifact, you're going to receive a buff, and that's a recovery, movement, AP gain, and stamina gain buff, and that's based off a percentage of your power. Survivor's Blessing, when you deflect, you're going to receive a heal over time. Barbarian's Revelry, on a critical strike, you're going to receive a heal. Now that's only going to occur once every 2 seconds, whereas before it was every time you crit, you would get a heal. Wanderer's Fortune, good to get refinement stuff for your artifacts, artifact equipment, stuff like that. And then Vampire's Thirst, when you lifesteal, receive a heal over time. So all these are mostly going to be defensive, except for Wanderer's Fortune and Artificer's Influence. Scourge Warlocks are squishier, so you're definitely going to be wanting to get those heals as much as you can. Alrighty guys, so now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give you guys a visual example of kind of my rotation, how I run the class, just to help you guys, you know, kind of see what I'm talking about. So again, our main encounters here, Pillar of Power, Arms of Hadar, and then Blades of Vanquished Armies, and then our 2 outwills are Hand of Blight, and then Hellish Rebuke. So this rotation here coming up is going to be the mob clearing version of the rotation. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off, you can usually start off cursing your target. So we'll go ahead, start off curse them, and then run in, pop Pillar of Power, get that up, throw up Blades of Vanquished Armies, hit them with a couple outwills to stack that Flames of Empowerment. And then you can go ahead, you can throw in Arms of Hadar whenever you want, you know, kind of work with it, get your own feel for it. Pillar of Power though, you're definitely going to want to start off with that first. That's going to give you your damage buff for all your powers and everything. So as you can see here again, we'll go a little bit slower. Pillar of Power, target is cursed. The target is taking a little bit of damage. Pillar does do a little bit of damage to enemies standing inside of it. So we'll go ahead, throw up Blades of Vanquished Armies. As you can see, that Pillar is giving me the damage bonus until it faded away, obviously. But then Arms of Hadar, you know, finish them off. Trash mobs usually get cleared pretty fast by this rotation, I find. So that is very good. So next, we are going to go ahead and do a boss version of the encounter rotation. So we'll pretend this target dummy, we'll say he's a tiny version of Orcus. We'll go with that. So for encounter rotations for bosses, I usually go Warlock's Bargain. Has a nice damage over time, and it has a lifesteal to it. So that is nice. Does a decent amount of damage over time. So we'll throw that on as opposed to Arms of Hadar. And then we'll go with Dread Theft as well. Now I forgot to mention Dread Theft is also changed in Mod 10. Rather than having a Curse Consume, it's going to have a Curse Synergy. So any target hit by Dread Theft, they're going to have a debuff where they take increased damage from all sources. And based on the amount of cursed targets hit, you're going to reduce your own incoming damage. That's going to stack 3 times. So let's go ahead. This is Orcus, tiny version of Orcus. So we'll go ahead and we're going to curse him. Stand back, and we're going to pop Pillar here. Let's go ahead and get that here in just a second. So we stood back, popped up Pillar, get ourselves that bonus, throw out Warlock's Bargain, and then we're going to hit him with a few outwills again to stack that Flames of Empowerment, and then we're going to throw out Dread Theft. Now during this time, any target that is being hit by Dread Theft, they're going to take that damage increase from any other source, but that is only while Dread Theft is active. So as you can see, they're still taking a little bit of damage. That's just from the Creeping Death. So that is pretty much my 2 versions of the rotations for trash mobs as well as for bosses. So I believe that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I do appreciate you clicking over here. Give me any feedback, comments, you know, likes. Show some support. This is my first commentary, as you can tell. A little bit of an awkward experience for myself, not gonna lie. But if you guys did enjoy the video, go ahead and leave a like, comment down below any opinions, maybe anything you guys have to input. So thank you for watching. Have a good day, guys.